Welcome back to a 33-year-old boomer ranting near his bookcase in order to appear a lot more intelligent than he actually is. The great AI filter is coming. Let's talk about it. So I want to make videos a bit more interactive. I want to get your guys' input whenever I make something like this, because I think I'm entering a stage where I want to collect more information from you people, the kind of people that watch this, and I want to know what you think and whether you think I'm right or wrong about this. And of course, it helps with the algorithm as well. Kind of a coincidence. So recently, I started studying art because I want to illustrate my science fiction novels, and I think it's really cool to be able to do something like that. I'm a huge fan of polymaths throughout history, people like Leonardo da Vinci. I think that even though it's more difficult to become a true polymath now, to truly have an impact on culture and on human civilization, I think that if we transport ourselves a few centuries from now, looking back, there are going to be people who have marked society in a positive way, who have created things, who have put out ideas, who've put out stories and also in all sorts of mediums that have influenced culture. People like Da Vinci are definitely one of them. His contributions to medicine were immeasurable. And can you hear the chair squeaking? And of course, as arrogant as it sounds, I very much hope to be one of these people. I very much hope that centuries from now, people are going to look back at my work, especially at my writing and my books, and they're going to go, hey, that guy was clearly time traveling because he really nailed it, right? Like that kind of. And even if my predictions don't come to fruition, I still hope that there's something in my books that impact people's lives, that will impact people's lives in a positive way. And so we come to the idea of the great AI filter. What is this? What am I talking about? What is this great AI filter that I've come up with, that I've been thinking about for a while? You see, throughout most of human history, it was always a minority of people that actually contributed anything. You know, if you think about Florence in the 16th century, for most people, only two dudes come to mind from that era, and that is Da Vinci, and what was the other? can't remember his name. The one that did Statue of David, the other really talented bloke. They actually had a bit of a feud going on. You know who I'm talking about. He painted the Sistine Chapel. Oh my, whatever. You know who I'm talking about. The vast majority of people are swallowed up by history. They're here, they live their lives, and then they just disappear. And I think that wanting, or at least aspiring to become one of the great people of history, one of the great men of history, I think that is a noble idea. Whether you succeed or not is kind of irrelevant because you won't be around to sort of see that anyway. But I think I think that trying or aspiring to that is a noble thing to do, is a noble ideal. And I think that even though these sort of people have always been in the minority throughout human history, I think that we're going to be in, again, arrogance. I'm including myself mentally in this future group. I think that this group is going to shrink in size dramatically, despite the population being orders of magnitude above what it was in the 16th century. And I think that the primary culprit of this is technology, or at least high technology. Specifically smartphones and social media, but AI is right now the biggest threat to this. Now, I've made a lot of videos where I'm critical of AI. This isn't to say that that you shouldn't. This isn't to say that you shouldn't use AI. There are definitely situations where if you are a master at what you do, you can absolutely use it. You are absolutely allowed to find ways in which you can use it constructively, especially if you can use it locally so that you don't have to give these AI companies all of your data. However, the vast majority of people are not masters yet. And something like AI, I suspect, will prevent people from becoming masters. I was speaking to my dentist recently, and he was telling me how kids his son's age, like sort of late teens, many of them have given up because they think that AI is just going to do everything. And so, what's the point of even trying, right? What's the point of learning a skill? What's the point of doing anything if the Jeopardy is going to do everything anyway? And this may be true. I don't know. It's very difficult to predict the future, to know exactly what direction things are going to go. But what I do know is that no matter what happens, you should cultivate skills. Because whether AI takes everything over or whether it doesn't, the purpose of skills for the vast majority of history was never to make you money. The point of a skill was to keep you alive initially, and then the purpose of it became more abstract. It became a way to give you meaning, and of course, both can be true, right? If you're really good at making stone tools, it's the Stone Age. You're really good at making stone tools. You are valuable. This helps keep you alive. This helps keep your family and your tribe alive. And this makes you important. It gives you meaning. Other people will go, hey, that guy, he's really, I'm hiding my double chin. Hey, that guy, he's really good at making stone axes. He's like the best we've ever seen. I mean, we only know like 100 people, and you'd have to walk for days in any direction to meet another soul. But out of all the people that we know, that guy, he's number one. He's numero uno at making stone axes. And this would give you a sense of purpose, a sense of pride, a sense of, hey, I'm good for something. And this is especially important for men. We need to feel useful. We need to feel like we have a place. And I don't want to go into this topic yet. I might make a video about this. But part of the reason why so many men are lost, so many young men are lost, is because they've been told, and we've been told, that we're not needed, right? Especially by the opposite gender. We're not needed anymore. You know, they can make their own money, all that kind of stuff. And the messaging from society has been, hey, you're kind of in the way. We want to push women. We want to like promote women. They're going to do all the important things, and men are kind of like, right? That's generally the messaging that's been pushed for a long time. And so when you tell a bunch of young men who don't get it yet, who haven't lived for long enough, when you tell them that they're not needed, they don't get that that's just something that they're trying to push on you. They take it as a given. They take it as I've been told by everyone in my life, my teachers, women, everything, that I'm not needed. Therefore, I must not be needed. They will take it at face value. And so, of course, many of them will just check out of society, right? I mean, if you're not needed, you're just going to go home, play a video game, take your UBT and smoke all day and play video games and eat DoorDash because you're not needed. And this is not a good position to be in. You do not want to be in that position. That is the death of your soul right there. Now, this, I suspect, is about to get a lot worse as AI gets forced more and more into our lives. Regardless of whether AI gets better or not, it will be pushed everywhere, all the time. And so, I hope that squeaking is not too annoying. Probably is. Probably already clicked off. There's no one watching this. I'm just imagining there's people watching. What's going to happen is a lot of these young people coming up now, young Gen, I mean Gen Z is kind of they're reaching angst status already. I mean, old Gen Z are like they're what like 30 now. Welcome to the young club. I guess Gen Alpha and Gen Beta. Oh, what a terrible name for a generation. So you've already doomed them just by calling them Gen Beta. These two generations coming up, Alpha and Beta, and to some degree Gen Z, are doomed because they grew up in a world where they were told that automation would just take care of everything, and so what's the point? What's the point of learning anything? And they view it purely from a economic perspective. They never view it from a philosophical, existential perspective. And that is the real perspective that I view a lot of skills from. So, yes, you need skills to live. And some skills have less or no economic value. But that doesn't mean that you should view everything as either economically viable or not. For example, I really like writing science fiction. I think it's really fun. Right now I'm writing my second book and a side short story, which is becoming a bit of a novella, actually. Now, this could theoretically make me a lot of money. Statistically, it's quite unlikely. The fact that I have an audience makes it less unlikely. And the more the audience grows, the less unlikely it becomes, or the more likely it becomes. But for most people, writing is not going to work out financially. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. The fact that I'm studying art to illustrate my books, that for most people that is not a financially viable option, because we don't need 10 million artists, right? Even if the population doubled, you wouldn't need to double the artists. That's not how it works. 16 billion people could still enjoy the art of the same number of artists, or even way fewer. However, just because there isn't an economic value to it, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Because if everything is just economic value, then your life is waking up to an alarm, going to work, consuming during your break, coming back home, consuming some more, and then watching slop until you fall asleep, and then you rinse and repeat. And I don't know that is a life. That is not a life that I want to live. Even if I will have, even if this whole content creation and writing thing and programming thing, if none of this works out, I would still continue to do these things regardless. I would still continue to make content. I would still continue to write books and stories. I would still continue to do art. Because these things provide me with a level of meaning that day-to-day living just can't. I am not wired the same as most people. Most people are perfectly happy to just consume all day. And I do a bunch of consumption too. That's what humans do, we consume. But there is something hardwired in me. I don't know if it happened at birth. I don't know if it happened when I was a kid. I was always kind of weirdly introspective. I remember when I was 4 years old, I realized that items exist in our minds as concepts. So, for example, I remember this very, very vividly. I was thinking, at what point does a chair stop being a chair? So if you take a chair and you take away a leg, it has 3 legs, but it's still recognizably a chair. If you change the size of the backrest, well, it's still recognizably a chair. And I was thinking, how much would you have to modify a chair until you could no longer reasonably claim that is a chair? how much would you have to change it until the idea in your head of what a chair is conceptually? I didn't know what the word conceptual meant, but that's what I was thinking, right? How much do you have to change it until it becomes something that is unrecognizable as a chair? And I realized, because I would talk about this with other kids and they would look at me like I'm an alien. And I realized very quickly that these are not the sort of thoughts that the average person has. And this isn't like some so great, I'm so smart. That's not the point. My point is that my brain is clearly wired differently. I clearly want to aspire. I aspire to these things that are beyond what most people want to do. And so no matter what happens, no matter whether AI takes over everything or not, no matter whether there's economic value in doing these things or not, I will do them for the rest of my life because they enrich my life. Every time I write something, it feels like I'm discovering treasure, which is a crazy thing to say. But if I, like, when I was discovering my short story recently, like, I was literally, it was 3 a.m. I was thinking, please let me go to sleep. Please let me fall asleep. And because normally I fall asleep immediately, right? But thoughts kept popping up into my mind. And because my phone is on the other side of the room, I don't want to have my phone near me when I sleep. I'd be in bed like this, like, that's me sleeping. And I'm thinking, I want to fall asleep. Please, I want to fall asleep. I'm tired. I want to wake up at like 9. Please. And I keep getting ideas. I keep getting these beautiful, crazy ideas about how I want to, about what I could do with this short story. Like, about all the beautiful things I could do to it, and how, wouldn't it be cool if the main character did this, and then it turns out that that's so right. Like, that was going on in my mind. My mind was on fire, and this happens sometimes, where my mind catches fire, and I can't go to sleep, and these ideas come to me. I'm rambling. I know this is called boomer ranting in the woods, right? If you want structure, go watch some normie channel. I would think, please let me go to sleep, but I keep getting these ideas. And I would literally think, look, listen, I'm grateful for these ideas, but please, I want to go to sleep. And eventually the ideas kind of tapered down, and the ideas slowed down, and I could eventually fall asleep. But then I'm in this beautiful stage of writing where I now have a markdown file in NeoVim, very nice, full of like schizo like ideas that are half written and half hallucinated by me, not the LLM. And now I get to go through it, and I get to bring order to this chaos. And then once I do that, I can plan out the story, and then I can fill in the details, and I can turn it into something beautiful that people can enjoy. And there is something about this which no amount of consumption could ever provide me with. There is a divine quality to this that no AI, there is a divine quality to this that no amount of consumption could ever make me feel. For example, I love solo leveling. It's a fantastic, progression fantasy, I believe the term is for that kind of stuff. I love solo leveling, and I find watching it to be very thrilling. However, none of it is as thrilling as writing my own stuff. And here's the thing, even if AI gets better at me than writing stuff, it's irrelevant. Because the point isn't constant consumption. The point is ascending, it's reaching a higher plane where your mind has been to places where the average person has never been. It doesn't matter if AI can outwork you, if it can outthink you, if it can outcreate you, it's irrelevant. They're not going to let the world just collapse. Like, it's going to be stable more or less forever. Like, nothing ever happens, right? There's some truth to that. And so they're going to do some sort of UBI. It's not going to be ideal, but whatever. And in fact, if they do UBI, you really need skills. Oh my God, dude. If they do UBI, because AI replaces everyone or whatever, which I don't think is going to happen, but let's just say, right? People will not be able to mentally handle that. We are built to strive. We are built to create things. We are built to build things. We are not built to sit at home and just be Wally people. That's not what we're built for. We're not built to just consume slop in every way, like visually and in terms of food. We're not built for that. We're built for a bit of uncertainty. We're built for the natural world. We're built to create, to do, like, humans have been creating things creatively for a very long time, right? Like, some dude at some point had the idea to make stone tools, and then some dude figure out how to do bronze. Right? Like there were artists all throughout history whose names we don't know because they're just prehistory, right? But someone had that idea at some point. Maybe even it was discovered and then forgotten and then rediscovered. Who knows? But the point is that someone had these ideas, and these people marked society and marked the world in a way where the average person cannot do. And returning to the initial point that I was making, there is something noble about doing these things. There is something noble about reaching, aspiring for a level where you have marked the world in a way that it will never be the same ever again. And this will help you transcend your mortal coil. This will help you live for centuries or millennia. And in fact, and we'll end on this note, the last words of Da Vinci were reportedly, "I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have." Think about that for a second. You have one of the most talented humans to have ever lived, who has contributed so much to art, to engineering, to biology, to geology as well, to our understanding of these things. On his deathbed, he died pretty old. He didn't die young. His last thoughts before death were that he has failed because he had not reached the pinnacle of what he could have been capable of. And that is one of the noblest of ideas. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.